select reboots.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hi, Maria.
Hello.
How's everybody?
So Andre has just sent me a quick message. She's still working on hers, but she's going to be joining us soon, hopefully.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm excited about tonight. For a change, you know. For once.
You're never excited.
But for reals, I think tonight is going to be a good one. I'm very hungry.
Who doesn't like food anyway?
Who doesn't like food? Idiots.
It's a very good one.
One person who does like food.
This
guy.
Oh,
Yes.
a very hungry caterpillar. Oh, Peter, that is a huge quantity of. I want. Oh, yeah.
This is my dinner.
Oh no, honey!
Followed by a nice lolly, perhaps.
That is insufficient. You're going to be craving things like goulash by the end of tonight.
I mean, I started tonight as well, to be fair.
Just the word makes me want to eat it.
Hi,
Really.
Robert. How you doing, my darling?
Yeah. Are those keys on your earrings?
Me?
Yes. Do you have keys?
They're tiny lightning bolts.
Oh. Of course they are. Striking.
How cute.
Oh, Nick.
Nice.
Get out.
Very on trend with the weather as well. Have you had storms up near you?
Oh,
Oh my god.
Yeah.
talk about not being able to sleep because I thought the
No way.
lightning was going to hit the roof.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
crazy.
sweet.
Yeah.
It's been insane here. I was on video chat with Martin this afternoon,
Hi.
and I was like, can you hear that? Can you hear that? He's like, no, I can't hear it. And because we were on Zoom, and Zoom's got the like fancy like background noise cancelling thing, so like kind of frantically like messing about in the settings. We had lots of geeky, very lame fun playing with the audio settings in Zoom. Yeah, it was like I had my bedroom window open because it's been so warm all day.
Okay, yeah.
Just sitting on my sofa with my book, and then
Oh, wow.
approximately. That's
Because I know you like your sound effects. Did you manage to record it ready for use on a future poetry night?
didn't, sadly. Maybe I should get my noise
Yeah.
noise generator
We could
up.
have a weather theme for future. Maybe.
I bet there's some good storm noises on that
Probably.
that app thing.
Yeah.
So I think give it a couple more minutes, and then we can get into some food poetry. Does anybody else have any food poetry that they would like to contribute? And I will stick it on the list. Or are people happy to just hear some nice food poetry?
I think Katie's just going to collect her 17 books of food poetry.
Was that? She has no food poetry.
She has no food poetry. And no
I-
boy.
I have food poetry up the wazoo.
I thought
Wow.
That's a combination.
No wonder you've got lightning bolts hanging from your ears.
You've been in lockdown a long time, you know.
What's that, Nick? What's that book that Katie usually reads from for the food stuff?
Um,
The kind of the seductive food.
yeah. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. The one she reads me every night. Yeah.
No, she'd tell you the name of it. I can't remember.
Okay.
Sexy food descriptions, or
You've got to understand that of the vast expanses of bookshelves that we have in our house, about that amount of one shelf is mine.
Oh.
And has my books on it.
having come from a household with a very similar division of like bookshelf space, I am in no position to criticize that particular. You just need to get more books, Nick.
Expand your territory.
Aggressive expansion.
Or claim other books. Stick a flag in it.
Yeah. We'll get a Nick. This book belongs to Nick's library. And this book belongs to Katie's library one, and it's a race to see who can stamp the most books. Anything you can stamp, you can keep. That's how it works. Oh man, Emma got me for, I think, was it maybe Christmas last year or my birthday last year? She had a little library stamp with this book. This book comes from Frankie's library, and a little space for the date.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Katie says I've yet to bring her anything like that. Conveniently forgetting that I did actually get her a wax sealing kit with a personalised engraving stamp in it.
That's super sweet.
I did not say anything like that. I said my library stamp.
That's not good enough. She wants a library stamp.
One day, if I ever don't feel like story time, I'm just going to come onto Zoom and just sit for an hour and listen to Nick and Katie lovingly bicker with each other, and I'll just be like, oh God, I love you guys so much.
Oh.
I'm back. It's working.
Yay! So good. Don't do that, Nick.
I was just about to say that.
My favourite story moment. Oh. Right.
Storytime's greatest hits. Sorry.
Okay, I think we shall begin some poetry. Oh, we have a Jonathan! Oh, we will have a Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan. It's an outdoors Jonathan. Ah! Oh, we've got Michael. Ah!
Yes, Team Michael is growing in strength.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we only have 2 Michaels. What the hell?
Michael team, do better. Send out the Michael signal.
Can we start unless we reach our quota?
Obviously not.
Peter, probably at some point you'll have to change your name to Michael.
I can do that.
It's like an ancestral name, I think.
I normally charge people to call me different things, but for you.
Hi, Sweet Pea. Michael, your facial hair is excellent.
It's growing by the hour.
Yeah, it just gets
Really
bigger and
good.
bigger.
You've got a very good kind of configuration of beard and moustache going on.
Yeah, that's good.
Is it?
I think maybe it looks good there because it's kind of fuzzy and at a distance. The closer you get, the more unruly it seems.
Okay, so I think we shall start. So there have been a couple of people who have got things that they would like to submit. I've got a shit ton, so just so that I am not doing all of mine in some big obnoxious wedge, could I do a one first? Maybe, and then Maria, did you have one that you?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Frankie, you're making like a buzzing sound when you talk, like a sort of a hum. It only happens when you're talking. I don't know whether it's your microphone settings. I don't want it to interfere with my appreciation of your poetry.
If I turn my volume down, is that any better? I don't. So I'm doing this on my laptop, which is historically not super good.
I am.
It does sound a bit like fan noise.
I'm going to move you to a cushion and see if that's better. Oh, here, my lovelies. Is that any better at all?
No, that's worse.
Oh no! Back off the.
It doesn't matter.
You
I
could
just-
try muting and unmuting your audio too. That sometimes works.
What's that, Sweetie?
You could always just like mute and unmute your audio and play around with that. Sometimes that'll fix some noise issues.
Is that any better? Is it? Holy shit! Wow. Hey, thanks, Em.
You're very welcome.
Right.
Oh, it's getting really feedbacky again.
Shall we just mute, check
That's
it's,
okay.
it's definitely Frankie, mute other people first? Might be an idea.
Oh yeah.
It probably is
Everyone else
Frankie.
mute quickly, and then
Mute you all. Muted you all. Can you still hear buzzing and feedback? Oh.
It's
try
okay,
if
though.
you've
It's
got a
just-
mobile or something near your laptop or anything that transmits.
My phone is very far away, but I can
It should be fine.
further away.
It's not really bad though. I'm happy to carry on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll do a couple, and if you go, you know what, this is for our enjoyment of the poems, I can always just send links to the poems to anybody who would be willing to read them for me, and then we can still have the poems themselves. How does that sound?
I am always happy to
Okay.
read poems for you, Frankie, if you want.
Yeah, I think you should.
If you have a headphone, you can plug into your laptop. That might solve it.
I don't sound. The only headphone I have is yeah, it like makes it not pick up on the mic. It thinks it's I'll see what I can do. Sorry.
Don't worry, it's all good.
We'll figure it out.
Okay. So I think I will start if that is right. So this first one is by a poet called Mark Doty, and I just think it is one of the most sort of beautiful kind of uses, evocative uses of language ever. So this is called A Display of Mackerel. They lie in parallel rows on ice, head to tail, each a foot of luminosity barred with black bands, which divide the scale's radiant sections like seams of lead in a Tiffany window. Iridescent, watery prismatics, think abalone, the wildly rainbowed mirror of a soap bubble sphere, think sun on gasoline. Splendor and splendor, and not a one in any way distinguished from the other. Nothing about them of individuality. Instead, they're all exact expressions of the one soul, each a perfect fulfillment of heaven's template, mackerel essence. As if, after a lifetime arriving at this enameling, the jewelers made uncountable examples, each as intricate in its oily fabulation as the one before. Suppose we could iridesce like these and lose ourselves entirely in the universe of shimmer. Would you want to be yourself only, unduplicatable, doomed to be lost? They'd prefer plainly to be flashing participants, multitudinous. Even now they seem to be bolting forward, heedless of stasis. They don't care they're dead and nearly frozen, just as presumably they didn't care that they were living. All for all, the rainbowed school and its acres of brilliant classrooms in which no verb is singular or everyone is. How happy they seem, even on ice, to be together, selfless, which is the price of gleaming.
Oh.
So, yes, that was my update. Maria, would you like to do yours next?
Oh dear, I know how I'm going to follow that. Do you hear me, by the way?
Yes,
with this
beautifully.
Okay, awesome. Right, so I'm in Bulgaria right now, by the way. I'm quarantining, and I also happened to find out that one of my favorite Bulgarian poets has 3 poems which were translated in English, and all 3 are about food. So I think I'm going to pick one of them, the one that speaks to me the most right now. And I'm just going to go for it. Right. I think I love the name the most of this one. It's called My Mother Reads Poetry. 2 packs, thin, ready-rolled pastry sheets. 2 coffee cups, butter, melted. 1 kilogram of apples. 1 cup, biscuit crumbs. 1 cup, ground walnuts. 2 coffee cups, sugar. 1 packet, cinnamon powder. Wash the apples. Peel and remove the seeds. Grate in large strips. Mix with the sugar, the ground walnuts, and the cinnamon. Take a pastry sheet, grease it, and cover it with another sheet. Spread some of the apple mix over them and roll them together. Repeat with the other pastry sheets. Grease them and bake over medium heat until the top crust is red and the bottom one is pink. When you bake it, it's a strudel, but for now, it's still a poem.
That's so charming.
That's delightful. Yeah, and I think we're going to have that for my dad's birthday next week, so I thought it's just like perfect.
That was so lovely. That was really nice. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Nav. Hi, Tina. Hi, Jen.
We're late because we got distracted playing a board game, and also our food only just arrived.
Ooh, what are you having?
So much.
Yeah.
Lebanese meze selection.
Oh.
Oh.
Mm. Nice plants as well.
Those are not for dinner.
It's a unicorn.
Does Team Bina have any poems that they would like to contribute, or are you beautiful people here to listen only?
I think.
That's Bina, do you have a poem?
I think we're just listening only.
No
I
problem.
don't think we're prepared enough.
I think we just.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. I'm going to.
I can always continue reading Goblin Market if you run out of poems about food.
There's actually, speaking of fruit, can I share this one about pears with you? So this is by a poet called Paisley Rectile, who has written some fucking smashing fucking brilliant poetry. But this one is called Pear. No one ever died for a bite of one, or came back from the dead for a single taste. Or stony, white as the belly of the winter hare or a doe's scut, flicking before she mates. Even an unripe one is delicious, its crisp bite cleaner almost than water, and its many names just as inviting. Bartlett and Comis, Anjou, Nashi, Concord and Seckel, the pomegranate skin star crimson, even the medieval bosque, which looks like it dropped from an oil painting. It is not a sin to eat one, though you may think of a woman's body as you do it. The bell-shaped swell of it rich in your hand, and for this reason it was sacred to Venus, Juno, all women celebrated or dismissed in its shape. That mealy sweetness tunneling from its center, a gold that sinks back into itself with age. To ripen a pear, wrap it in paper, lay it in cloth by an open window, or slip a rotten one beside it on a metal dish. Dying cells call always to the fresh ones, the body's siren song that, having heard it once, we can't stop singing. This is not the fruit that will send you to hell, nor keep you there. It will not give you knowledge, childbirth, power, or love. You won't know more pain for having eaten one, or choke on a bite to fall asleep under glass. It has no use for archer or hero, though anything you desire from an apple you can do with the pear, like a dark sister with whom you might live out your secret desires. Cook it in wine, mull it with spices, roast it with honey and cloves. Time sweetens and we taste it, so gather the fruit weeks before ripeness, lest summer and winter both simmer inside it. For it is a fall fruit whose name in China means separation, though only the fearful won't eat one with those they love. To grow a tree from seed, you'll need a garden and a grafting quince, bees, a ladder, shears, a jug. You'll need water and patience, sun and mud, a reverence for the elders who told no true stories of this fruit's origin, wanting to give us the freedom of one thing that's pleasure alone. Cool and sweet, cellular and stony, this is the fruit I'll never die for, nor come back from the dead for a single taste. The juice of the pear shines on my cheeks. There's no curse in it. I'll eat what I like and throw the rest to the grasses. The seeds will find whatever soils they were made for.
Yay!
Hey, I love that one. That's fabulous.
That was really good.
That was so nice.
Em, I believe you've got.
Yeah, I have another one that's on the fruit theme. I have two that go together. One that's written by Edwin Morgan and one that's written for Edwin Morgan that's on the food theme, but a little more about friendship. So we're going to start with Strawberries by Edwin Morgan. There were never strawberries like the ones we had that sultry afternoon, sitting on the step of the open French window, facing each other, your knees held in mine, the blue plates in our laps, the strawberries glistening in the hot sunlight. We dipped them in sugar, looking at each other, not hurrying the feast, the one to come, the empty plates laid on the stone together. With the two forks crossed, I bent towards you, sweet in that air, in my arms, abandoned like a child from your eager mouth, the taste of strawberries in my memory. Lean back again. Let me love you. Let the sun beat on our forgetfulness, 1 hour of all the intense heat and summer lightning in the Kilpatrick Hills. Let the storm wash the place. You guys can unmute for reactions too. It's weird seeing them.
That's so good. I have an Edwin Morgan Apple one if we haven't had that yet.
Oh my god, no we haven't, and yes we must have that one.
Can you wait for me to go and get a pen?
Yes. I was going first, right? And I still have like half a mouth of food, so.
Yeah, but I'll wait for Katie to get back. I'm sure she doesn't want to miss poetry.
Ah,
Oh, I love that one.
so gorgeous.
People like to just see food. We can offer that.
Here's a pen.
Okay, Katie's back. So
I brought all the pens, so I wouldn't have to waste time choosing one.
Yeah.
Your companion, please.
Yeah. So this one's called Strawberry Meringue, and it's by Jackie Kay, who apparently was adopted into the Scottish poetry family. So these are the Scottish poets. She's half British, half African. My partner's mother sent me so much interesting stuff on these two. Yeah, and this one's Strawberry Meringue for Edwin Morgan. The time before the last time I saw you, my mom and I brought you a strawberry meringue, a vanilla slice and a cream fancy. And around your bed, we three had our own wee tea party. A nice auxiliary. Nancy brought the tea. We thought of words to rhyme with meringue. Do you say harangue? Am I right or am I wrong? The old home used to take you to on the dotties on Mondays, where they did marvelous meringues, you said, your boyish eyes gleaming. Then you asked me if I read Orange and Looks Snow Are Red, which was open on your bed. You told me of a poem you were translating from Russian, and asked after my son and Carol Ann. Love, you said, I love blissfully. If you can be friends, you're not doing bad. In your room today are perhaps a dozen books and a few favorite paintings, life pared down, clean as an uncluttered mind. Friendship, dear Edwin, a skunk, a meringue, your palms hovering like old friends too. Or old lovers, strawberries, that last thrilling line. Was it, let the storm wash the plates? Nancy puts the rest of the cakes in the fridge for you for later. You are 90. Happy birthday, Edwin. Your head is buzzing with variations. And what is age but another translation?
Meringues are my favorite food.
Just fancy meringue. I think you said that you had one. Would you like to do yours, my darling?
You broke up then. Who is that?
Peter.
Oh, me. Yes, I can. So I got very excited this morning when I saw that there was a poetry recital about food, and then realised I had no poems about food, so I wrote one. And I wrote it about the first food that came to mind, which was a Roundtree's fruit pastel iced lolly. Does anyone not know what a Roundtree's fruit pastel iced lolly is? I will get one then. So just give me 2 minutes, because you need to see it to understand it.
They're delightful.
Thank you. Oh, I love visual aids.
Especially if they're ice lollies.
Delicious form.
You should not use them as dildos.
From personal experience?
No, there were lots of women last summer when it was really hot who got horrible yeast infections.
Oh my God.
I need to tell my partner this because he always is like, why is it every time someone talks about food and your genitals as a joke, you're always like, that's a yeast infection waiting to happen. That's why.
That's why. It's because it is.
Because it totally is. And like, he knows that much about me. My sister's also a gynecologist, so I'm very hyper aware of everything that can give you a yeast infection and the weird things you can buy from the supermarket that can help them that aren't medication. So
I'm so delighted that this like poetic session about food has included a touch on yeast. Okay, Peter has his.
This is it looks very simple, but let me tell you, this is mighty. This is a mighty thing. So this is called an ode to a Roundtree fruit pastel iced lolly. In rainbow decor and glistening sheen, unwrapped upon your stick you stand, ready to melt, yet at first so pristine, a promise of delight for every taste gland. 5 layers of joy, no more melancholy, a tasty Roundtree fruit pastel iced lolly. Shall I consume thee on a summer's day? A sonnet in any season I thee dub. Even Shakespeare would a homage pay, to lick, perchance to bite, aye, there's the rub. Abandon ye thine ice cream folly, behold, a Roundtree fruit pastel iced lolly. And so, at last, as temperatures rise, the moistened shaft slides past my lips. Each gentle suck a fruity surprise, those shades of bliss from base to tip. One is never enough, I need more, many, Polly! Filthy, fruity, Roundtree fruit pastel iced lolly.
Seeing you give the ode to it made it so much better. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ah. So good.
Are the different colors different flavors?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Really? Or are they just supposed to be?
No,
No,
they
they
really
taste
are.
different.
They really, really are. And they're made with real fruit juice as well.
This session of Poetry Saturday is sponsored by Ranch.
Unfortunately, they're now owned by Nestle, who, of course, kill babies.
I mean, according to like advertising laws, made with fruit juice just means there is some fruit juice somewhere in it. There's nothing to say that it is any sort of significant percentage.
That's true. I think they do say the percentage somewhere, but I'd have to look.
As we are, as we've kind of touched on what's the developing theme of food and sexy times, I have one that I would quite like to share. It's not full on raunchy, but I think it's quite lovely and sensual. I think
I'm really busy today.
I may have shared this before. Goulash by Schneider.
Please read it again.
Sorry, can I read it again? Is that okay?
Please.
Right. So, yes, this is Goulash by Mary Schneider. A crucial ingredient is the right frame of mind. So abandon all ideas of getting on. Stop peddling. Dismount, go indoors, and give yourself masses of time. Then begin by heating a pool of oil in a frying pan. And Mrs. Beaton style, take a dozen onions, even though the space you're working in is smaller than the scullery in a Victorian mansion. Pull off the papery wrappings and feel the shiny globe's solidity before you chop. Fry the segments in 3 batches. Don't fuss about weeping eyes. With a wooden spoon, ease the pieces as they turn translucent and gold. When you've browned but not burnt the cubes of beef, marry meat and onions in a deep pan. Bless the mixture with stock, spoonfuls of paprika, tomato puree, and crushed garlic. Enjoy the Pompeian red warmth. Outside, the sun is reddening the pale afternoon, and you'll watch as it sinks behind blurring roofs, the raised arms of trees, the intrepid viaduct. In the kitchen's triumph of colour and light, the meat is softening, and everything in the pot is seeping into everything else. By now you're thinking of love, the merging which bodies long for, the merging that's more than body. While you're stirring the stew, it dawns on you how much you need darkness. It lives in the underskirts of thickets where sealed buds coddle green, where butterflies folded in hibernation could be crumpled leaves. It lives in the sky that carries a deep sense of blue and a thin boat of moon angled as if it's rocking. It lives in the silent larder and upstairs in the airing cupboard where a padded heart pumps heat, in the well of bed where humans lace together. Time to savour all this as the simmering continues, as you lay the table and place at its centre a small jug in which you've put 3 tentative roses and sprigs of rosemary. At last you will sit down with friends and ladle the dark red goulash onto plates bearing beds of snow-white rice. As you eat, the talk will be bright as the garnets round your neck, as those buried with an Anglo-Saxon king in a ship at Sutton Hoo, and the ring of words will carry far into the night.
Yay! Go Frankie!
Yeah, go goulash.
That one is well worth having twice.
Yeah.
Good. There's actually, has anybody know The Travelling Onion by Naomi Shihab Nye? Just since that one made mention of onions. Could I do that one?
Yeah. No, Frankie, we hate you reading us poems about food.
This is I love Naomi, like as Em knows, I love Naomi Shihab Nye. The new one of hers that I haven't discovered before. So I'm quite excited to share this. So, yeah, this is called The Travelling Onion. And it starts with a quote. It is believed that the onion originally came from India. In Egypt, it was an object of worship. Why, I haven't been able to find out. From Egypt, the onion entered Greece and on to Italy, thence into all of Europe. Better Living Cookbook. When I think how far the onion has travelled just to enter my stew today, I could kneel and praise all small forgotten miracles. Crackly paper peeling on the drain board, pearly layers in smooth agreement. The way the knife enters onion, an onion falls apart on the chopping block, a history revealed. And I would never scold the onion for causing tears. It is right that tears fall for something small and forgotten. How at meal we sit to eat, commenting on texture of meat or herbal aroma, but never on the translucence of onion, now limp, now divided, or its traditionally honourable career, for the sake of others, disappear.
Educational as well.
Onions are great.
Onions are so good. I feel bad for onions. Go make something just onions in it.
French onion soup.
Caramelized onions, I mean, just are a delicacy of their own. I know they go on things, but I'll just eat them.
I made a lovely red onion wine. Sorry, red onion, red wine gravy the other day. Tasted so good.
That sounds amazing.
Really tasty.
Who would like to go next? Are you still eating, my darling?
I can go. Like, we're going to be grazing. Yeah. So. Poems. I'll see if I can find that Edwin Morgan one. Well, we're still in slightly like sensual poetry. But I've also got is it the King's Breakfast, the A.A. Milne one, about how the king really wants some butter. So I might do that later. This is called The Apple Song. It's another Edwin Morgan. We seem to have slipped into quite Scottish poetry today, which is nice, like, just by accident. Lots of Edwin Morgan, lots of sort of Jackie Kay and stuff. Okay. Tap me with your finger, rub me with your sleeve, hold me, sniff me, peel me, curling round and round till I burst out white and cold from my tight red coat and tingle in your palm, as if I'd melt and breathe a living pomander, waiting for the minute of joy when you lift me to your mouth and crush me, and in taste and fragrance I race through your head in my dizzy dissolve. I sit in the bowl in my cool corner and watch you as you pass, smoothing your apron. Are you thirsty yet? My eyes are shining.
Ooh.
That was so good.
That should be
That's a good poem.
That should be the Poetry Saturday equivalent of Are You Sitting Comfortably? Are you thirsty yet?
It's always nice to hear a poem about Baby Bell.
Are you thirsty?
That is so good. So does anybody else have any more that they would like to share? Because if not, I might get Bina to.
I mean, I could read my poem that I was saving for Saucy Time, depending on how close Saucy Time is.
I mean, there's nothing to say that you can't do it twice.
I know.
Surely thirsty yet is a saucy time, is the saucy time version of Are You Sitting Comfortably?
I mean, it is, but it also does kind of happen every Poetry Saturday, too.
We're very thirsty for poetry.
I'd love to hear you read it, Katie.
I would love to hear you read it, Katie.
Okay, but I will ask that it is removed from the recording so that it's still a surprise for the people who turn up Saucy Time.
In that case, how about we do it at the end? So just like stop the recording. And obviously have to chat. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
You look very summery for nighttime.
Yes, it is very summery here.
You're so adorable.
Thanks.
You make a great anime character.
Andrea, I think you said that maybe you might have a poem that you would like.
Yes, I prepared a sweet delight.
Oh my god.
So, like, does that mean it's my time right now?
Your time right now.
Are you ready? Are you all sitting comfortably? Okay. It is quite long. I hope that's okay. And it's called Candyman. Okay, let's see. Well, I'll leave it on anyway. I can see, it's fine. All right. Candyman. Once upon a time, in a world subliminal. Sorry, I need to start again. One more time. I'm a bit nervous. Okay. Once upon a time, in a world subliminal, liminal, sublime. On the corner of the street, the border where dreams and reality meet. I went for an ambling, rambling, meandering wander in the world of wonder. I kept scouring, searching, yearning for adventure, coming up empty, finding nothing, nothing, nothing in sight. Meanwhile, dusk turns into night. One moment of pause, acceptance and surrender, suspended in that space betwixt. In the matrix render, the miracle may rock. One turn of the head, one blink of an eye, pop. Out of nothing, it appeared nigh. There it was. There he was, the Candyman. A star flickering in front of my eyes, as if it had trouble to materialize. A neon sign blinking, blinking, blinking in the night. A siren's call beckoning me forward, drawing, pulling me in towards sweet candy delight. People lining up, excited chatter, anticipation in the air. The smell of sweet cotton candy, caramel and honey, chocolate, strawberries, mouth-watering, delicious. Another turn of the head, my friends appear behind me in line. I feel a settling, a warm, heartfelt shine. The line is moving slow, slow, slow. Letting my excited, impatient anticipation grow. Finally, finally, it is my turn. Oh, my sweet, sweet, sweetness. He looks at me, sizing me up. His eyes piercing through my everyday armor I was still donning out of habit, seeing right into my soul. He's weighing what he sees, matching his skill to my will. I can tell he's settling now on the perfect choice. He knows just what I need. At the most deliberate speed, with the utmost care and an effortless air, he's preparing, reaching for this and that, every motion a praying and preaching, tipping his hat, There's holiness in his deeds, preparing treats where dreams and reality meet. Finally, he is done, handing me a precious, fluffy white cotton candy ball. A 3D Holy Communion wafer. Hallelujah. Taxing it first with my eyes, I tentatively pop it into my mouth. Oh, my sweetness. Foodgasm after foodgasm crashing like waves over me, tracing, painting colorful explosions on the canvas of my tongue. I am paying attention to every second, every sensation. First, my entire mouth is filled with sweet, sweet softness, slowly dissolving, melting down, revealing liquid salted caramel, followed by fireworks prickling, fire crackling, pop, pop, pop. Then an explosion of juicy, fresh, fruity, a strawberry core with creamy chocolate, giving it a slightly bitter rounding and grounding end to this culinary roller coaster ride. The spectacle ends, the taste lingers, all the while the candy man is feasting on my pleasure. Oh, my sweetness. We lock our gaze, exchange a moment of unspoken, all-knowing, deeply felt gratitude. Then we part ways, tenderly, softly, deeply touched. One blink, one turn of the head, the miracle mirage gone, leaving me to wonder, was it reality? Was it a dream from yonder? Who knows, and who cares? The tip of my tongue touches the roof of my mouth, lingering, tinkling, truth-telling. It knows. It knows.
Swoon.
I'm so
Very hot
hungry.
here.
Holy
So
shit.
hungry.
So thirsty.
It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. That was what I was busy with. It took me, like, I wrote it this afternoon, but, like, it was a huge mess. There were so many arrows, and, like, I don't know, it looked like this, I don't know, and, like, very, and sideways stuff written everywhere, and, yes. So I kind of needed to fix it.
Fantastic.
Oh, I don't think I will.
You're so good. You're so good. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Welcome. Thank you for listening.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Whoa.
The best thing about it, it's based on a true story.
Really?
I'm not even surprised.
I mean, yes.
And
I mean, it pretty much happened like in the poem. Like for the past 3 years, I went to the borderland in Denmark, and just magical stuff happens there. And yeah, like there actually was a person with a stall preparing treats for people. And like I had passed the stall many times, but there was never anybody there. And in that week of the borderland, there's always one cabaret night, and I was supposed to meet up with some friends afterwards, but because it's big and you don't have your phone with you, and we didn't find each other. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to do something else then. And I started to wander around, and I saw that, like, finally the place was open, and like there was a line forming, and I started to line up, and like once I turned around, suddenly my friends were behind me. So like we started to wait in line together, and yeah, like he actually, like, he took so much care preparing the things, and like his reward was like you weren't allowed to just take it and leave. Like you had to eat it in front of him. He was really feasting on your facial expression while you were eating the thing. So that was his reward. That was kind of, I think, why he did it.
I love that.
Yeah.
It sounds incredible.
And like the thing he prepared for me, it had exactly those ingredients. So yeah. And he even gave instructions on how to eat it. And yeah.
I've got a vaguely thematically related poem called Ball of Cook. Very short and is kind of a little bit silly and sensual. If you'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
So it's by Ron Padgett. Let me cook you some dinner. Sit down and take off your shoes and socks and, in fact, the rest of your clothes. Have a daiquiri. Turn on some music and dance around the house, inside and out. It's night and the neighbours are sleeping, those dolts, and the stars are shining bright, and I've got the burners lit for you, you hungry thing.
I love it.
Robert, you okay?
Yes, okay, just about.
So, Bina, for a vastly different change of tone.
Do you want a middle ground one first, which isn't sensual but is like slightly less silly than AA Milne and is still sort of about cooking with love and sweetness and things?
Well, so I've got this one is perfect. How about Meditation on a Grapefruit by Craig Arnold, which is about, preparing food with consideration and how good that is. Yeah, it's Meditation on a Grapefruit. To wake when all is possible before the agitations of the day have gripped you. To come to the kitchen and peel a little basketball for breakfast. To tear the husk like cotton padding, a cloud of oil misting out of its pinprick pores, clean and sharp as pepper. To ease each pale pink section out of its case so carefully, without breaking a single pearly cell. To slide each piece into a cold blue china bowl, the juice pooling, until the whole fruit is divided from its skin, and only then to eat. So sweet a discipline, precisely pointless, a devout involvement of the hands and senses. A pause, a little emptiness. Each year harder to live within, each year harder to live without. Poetic and tonal bridge.
You'll understand this, Bina. It's so hard to cut this fabric because it's so pretty, but these are the most adorable patchwork pieces I've ever made.
That's so nice. They look like a very hungry caterpillar.
You are not wrong.
That's so cute.
I am not looking forward to being back working from Wednesday. Like, I feel like it's going to eat into, my sewing time, and my just general leisure time, and working is very inconvenient. So, at least I had some time of getting used to the new world before furlough ended. So. plus humans. Listen. You are a human.
I got a kiss from someone who isn't my wife. Such a novelty.
Wait. On camera and everything.
There was proof. It's being recorded.
Sorry, we changed the tone. I'm going to bring it back.
Back again.
Back again to the king's breakfast. Okay. The king asked the queen, and the queen asked the dairymaid, "Could we have some butter for the royal slice of bread?" The queen asked the dairymaid. The dairymaid said, "Certainly. I'll go and tell the cow now before she goes to bed." The dairymaid, she curtsied and she went and told the Alderney, "Don't forget the butter for the royal slice of bread." The Alderney said sleepily, "You'd better tell His Majesty that many people nowadays like marmalade instead." The dairymaid said, "Fancy," and went to Her Majesty. She curtsied to the Queen and she turned a little red. "Excuse me, Your Majesty, for taking of the liberty, but marmalade is tasty if it's very thickly spread." The Queen said, "Oh," and went to His Majesty. "Talking of the butter for the royal slice of bread, many people think that marmalade is nicer. Would you like to try a little marmalade instead?" The King said, "Bother," and then he said, "Oh dearie me." The King sobbed, "Oh dearie me," and went back to bed. "Nobody," he whimpered, "could call me a fussy man. I only want a little bit of butter for my bread." The Queen said, there," and went to the dairymaid. The dairymaid said, there," and went to the shed. The cow said, there, I didn't really mean it. Here's milk for his porringer and butter for his bread." The Queen took the butter and brought it to His Majesty. The King said, "Butter, eh?" and bounced out of bed. "Nobody," he said, as he kissed her tenderly. "Nobody," he said, as he slid down the banisters. "Nobody, my darling, could call me a fussy man, but I do like a little bit of butter for my bread."
Yay!
Oh, that's so gorgeous.
We were clapping you when you were singing. I
felt your bears were very practiced. I enjoyed that. Sarcastically placated people before.
Oh,
fair.
Wait.
Not sarcastically necessarily.
I've only just seen the chat because I'm useless and I don't have it live. So there are a couple of people who have volunteered to read poems. Michael, how would you feel about doing yours?
Yeah, love to. Yeah, it's. Can you hear me okay? Do I need to come closer? Okay. This is about instant noodles, which was basically my entire diet when I lived in China. Just after uni, they call them death noodles there. So it's got ode to instant noodles. "Oh, greenish pot of wee flat noodles, I can't read your nutritional values as I watch you cook. In boiling water and some beef stock, with half a chipolatas worth of pork, like white ball bearings. In 30 seconds, just too soon, plunge my flimsy plastic spoon, which slightly melts. Then stuff into my mouth the treat, a burst of salt and sweet and heat, and MSG. I know that you are bad for me, but I'm just too fucking hungry to look up trans fat and how it's bad for me in 40 years. That's
Nice.
not quite the joy of it.
That is excellent.
It is.
Michael, Peter, would you be happy to go next? And Michael, would I be able to maybe make a request of you to read something for me if I send it to you? Would you have a look and let me know if you would fancy it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Send that. And yeah, Peter, if you would like to do yours, that would be lovely.
Sure. So my second poem is not by me. This one is actually by an American poet called Galway Kinnell. And when I was young, I loved to run around in the countryside, and one of my favourite things to do was to go hunting for blackberries. And this song is about blackberries. Did I say song? I meant poem. I love to go out in late September among the fat, overripe, icy blackberries. To eat blackberries for breakfast, the stalks very prickly, a penalty. They yearn for knowing the black art of blackberry making. And as I stand among them, lifting the stalks to my mouth, the ripest berries fall almost unbidden to my tongue, as words sometimes do. Certain peculiar words, like strengths and squinched, many lettered one-syllabled lumps, which I squinch open and splurge well in the silent, startled, icy black language of blackberry eating in late September.
God, I love Galway Kinnell. That was. Michael, would you be?
Yeah.
I sent.
So this one is by Seamus Heaney. It's called Blackberry Picking. So it's very topical. So late August, given heavy rain and sun, for a full week the blackberries would ripen. At first just one, a glossy purple clot, among others, red, green, hard as a knot. You ate that first one and its flesh was sweet like thickened wine. Summer's blood was in it, leaving stains upon the tongue and lust for picking. Then red ones inked up, and that hunger sent us out with milk cans, pea tins, jam pots, where briars scratched and wet grass bleached our boots. Round hayfields, cornfields, and potato drills, we trekked and picked until the cans were full, until the tinkling bottom had been covered with green ones, and on top, big dark blobs burned like a plate of eyes. Our hands were peppered with thorn pricks, our palms sticky as bluebeards. We hoarded the fresh berries in the byre, but when the bath was filled, we found a fur, a rat-grey fungus glutting on our cash. The juice was stinking too. Once off the bush, the fruit fermented. The sweet flesh would turn sour. I always felt like crying. It wasn't fair that all of the lovely canfuls smelt of rot. And each year I hoped they'd keep. I knew they would not.
Oh, God, I love that one. Thank you. It was absolutely beautiful.
Lovely.
Do we have anybody? So, Katie, there is one that you would like to do in the after chat. And does anybody have any more food poetry, or shall we end the official session?
I've got one
time
about
already?
cooking and baking.
Can you wait for Katie's? I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
Okay, sweetie. You've got one about what, Pete?
Sort of cooking and baking that I feel like the first two verses will relate to. Maybe not the rest of them, because it's also about humans. But
Perfect.
Find it. There's this. It's called The Scent of Apple Cake by Marge Piercy. My mother cooked as drudgery, the same 15 dishes, round and round, like a donkey bound to a millstone grinding dust. My mother baked as a dance, the flour falling from the sifter in a rain of fine white pollen. The sugar was sweet snow. The dough beneath her palms was the warm flesh of a baby when they were all hers before their wills sprouted like mushrooms. Cookies she formed in rows on the baking sheets. Oatmeal, molasses, lemon, chocolate chip. Delights anyone could love. Love was in short supply, but pies were obedient to her command of their pastry, crisp, holding the sweetness within. Desserts were her reward for endless cleaning in the acid yellow cloud of Detroit, begging dollars from my father, mending, darning, bleaching. In the oven, she made sweetness where otherwise there was none.
Oh. God damn, I love Marge Piercy.
That's from a collection called Life Support that has a lot of like good content.
Is that Julia Copus? Was that Julia Copus?
Yeah.
Ah, so good. Right, I think it's 10:10. I think maybe.
I actually just remember that I have one that people have heard that kind of mentions baking and such.
Let's go for it. Okay. One more will be M's.
One more poem. One more poem.
Is it the Loch Ness Monster one?
No, it's not, but I would happily read that anytime.
I mean, I thought that mentioned baking too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that Edwin Morgan Loch Ness Monster one?
Yeah.
I think I missed that being read, but it is excellent.
It's so good. Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Sweet. This one is called A Love Poem for a Dear Friend, and it was the first one that I shared with you guys when I first started doing poetry again. Many years ago, I was lucky enough to meet someone whose warmth surrounded me as if I'd walked up to a fire. She told me of baking so rich, its flavor lingered on the tip of my tongue, tied into stories so full of depth, their emotion radiated off of and through me. Her voice so melodic, every rise and fall, I held on as if her tune were the tale itself. And when we danced, oh, when we danced, our bodies fit like layers of a cake cut down to reveal exactly what's inside, carefully and comfortably connected as if frosted together, drizzling into every twist and turn. Instruments piping a moment through our bodies, a moment so raw and sweet you could eat it off a spoon. Still, when all is still, when I can most feel the ocean stirring between us in the darkness of my night, when her sun is about to rise, I can hear her whispers sprinkled in the distance. Have a small dance, just for yourself. And I do. And I can't help but think of her as I have this dance for myself. Her warmth nearly on my skin, her scent not quite on my nose, her connection still melting into me. Still, when all is still, she is ever present, even when, and possibly, especially when, I dance for myself.
Still love that one.
I think it still might be my favorite of the ones that I've written.
That's absolutely gorgeous. Okay, I think that is going to be the official end of the session. There's definitely not going to be more secret poetry in the chat that's not for the catch-up crew.
Another excellent Jeff.
And Michael.
Right, we're all going off to bed now. Bye, catch-up crew.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.
Nothing to see here.